Retired NBA coach Phil Jackson, and I have to say, I used to be a huge Chicago Bulls fan during the 90s when Phil Jackson was the coach there, and I am disappointed by his increasingly bizarre comments when it comes to equality, and he had a weird Brokeback Mountain comment a little while back that we covered. He was on HuffPost Live, and he was asked, hey, do you think the NBA needs more of a inclusive policy when it comes to gay athletes? And he basically took the Iran route. Remember when Ahmadinejad was asked, what about gay people in Iran? And he basically said, we don't have gay people in Iran. Phil Jackson taking basically the same point of view. Take a look at this.
My question is about homosexuality in sports. I'm wondering if you think that organizations and players and athletes could be or need to be more inclusive of gay athletes and more welcoming towards the gay community in general.
That's a ridiculous question. I mean, none of us probably have ever seen it in all our careers. And there's no inclusiveness to be had. So it's really a strange question to come out of.
What do you mean when you say that, Phil? Are you saying there are no gay athletes in the NBA? Or do you mean that it's not an issue?
Never run into it in all my career. I don't know if Shaq or Kurt have ever run into it, but I've never run into it in my career.
Really?
Okay, so now this is Kurt Rambis, a former Laker, who also chimes in about it.
Nope.
How about you, Kurt?
No, there hasn't been a player that was openly gay in the NBA while I've been involved with the NBA, whether it was a player or a coach.
Right. So then they talk about John Amici, who's been a guest on this show, who didn't come out until after leaving the NBA. But the understanding was that his teammates did know that he was gay. At least that's what I recall him telling us. So Phil Jackson has never run into an openly gay player, but to assert that there have been no gay players is completely absurd. It's reminiscent of Iran. And really what this really means actually is that we could just look and say this is just kind of a part of Phil Jackson's bias and so on and so forth. But it could also be taken as evidence that, and this is not his intent, that actually it's not a big deal in that clearly there were gay players around Phil Jackson in the 20-something years, or even if you talk his time as a player, even longer. There were gay players around. It's just that it didn't make a difference. They were in the locker room, and they weren't hitting on Phil Jackson. And he may be surprised by that because he would assume a gay player would be, but it's just not a big deal. Maybe we could take that from this, even though it wasn't his intention.
I don't know. I don't think so. The words he uses are pretty strange. I've never run into it. I mean, what? That's weird. Yeah, if it was not a big deal, he would have just said it was irrelevant.
He means he never met a gay basketball player that he knew was a gay basketball player.
But see, that's kind of the point of the question,
right?
Because they're afraid to come out.
I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been to the beach every summer. I have never seen a great white shark. Obviously, there is no reason to discuss shark safety. It's a ridiculous question, Lewis.
Right. I think that's what we can take away from it.
Let's take a break. Next, we'll talk to Dennis Campbell about the UK and European reaction to the North Korean threats. And then later on, Saudi Arabia. Women now are allowed to do something. What is that something?
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.